we redo. Oh my God, what's going on? James, are you back?
What are you talking about?
We redux and Redux 3. That's how we redux.
How do you redux?
We redux and Redux 3.
Oh, I see. Redux. Okay. You read the ducks. Cool. Sorry. Thank you for being host, Michaela. You did a great job.
Thank you.
All right. I'm sharing my screen, right? Or am I not?
It's not shared.
Okay. I want like a control board where I can just press buttons and like it'll share my screen. There's an idea for you if you want to get into hardware. I'd pay good money for that. A Zoom like control board.
Would a Stream Deck not work?
Does what?
A Stream Deck?
What's a Stream Deck?
It's a bunch of manual keys that you can kind of bind macros to. I think most streamers use it to kind of like control stuff for their chat, like, have a toggle mute and stuff.
Yeah, so you have to use a keyboard.
It's like, depends on like what you're looking at. You can kind of configure a keyboard if you want to buy a keyboard, if you want more keys. There's also like a Stream Deck product itself, but I think it's like in the hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I just want, a big buttons, like 15 of them. Just press them. The mute, I want the mute, unmute, video, share screen, record. It's like that thick. Okay. Cool. So let's get back to it. I digress, as I usually do. So we have our store.
I don't think you select out the store file.
Am I not sharing the right screen?
No, you were sharing the store file. I thought you were going to Slack it out though.
Oh, okay, that's where I got lost. All right, yeah. So let me Slack this out. There we go. So this one is a little different than yesterday. Because here, when we installed that Redux Thunk library, so we're also importing Thunk here. And in this enhancers object, we're applying this middleware Thunk. So when we create our store, we're creating it with our root reducer. This is just our initial state that we can have be blank. And then in our enhancers, we're setting up the Redux dev tools and we're setting up Redux Thunk. And the Redux Thunk is going to help us with our async calls. So it's going to do some stuff, and it's called middleware because it's doing stuff for us, like, before we get our data, and like it's doing stuff in the middle of our app. So yeah, like we did yesterday, we're going to need to create a reducers folder. And inside of here, we're going to have our index.js. And that's where we're going to import our root reducer. So it's, for now, just so this works, we can do an export. Remember, a reducer is just a function. So for now, we can just export default just a dummy function, stubbed out function. So we have our store. Now we're gonna, in our index.js, we're going to, this is where we use our store. So we're going to import our store from our store. And then we're going to, for this, well, I don't, so this has React router. I don't want to get rid of that. For this, I'm going to put this, I'm going to wrap everything in my provider. So I'm going to get my provider, wrap all of that inside of my provider. And then my provider has a store prop, which I'll have equal to the value store. And then I need to import that provider component. I think now would probably be a good time just to see if this is all working. Start up my Rails server. Start up my React server. Does anyone need any of the code? All right. See if I inspect this. Since I am using, I have set up the Redux DevTools. I mean, I'm not going to have anything. I just have undefined in my state because I didn't really create a proper store, but it is set up.
Can I see your store.js really quick?
Yeah, that's out in Slack.
Oh, okay.
So copy that one and paste that one. And don't use, if you're using the one from yesterday, this one does have this new Thunk import and apply middleware Thunk. So if we saw this app, we can see like we have this products page that is grabbing our products. So we could kind of go look at that. Components, products. And so what I have here is just kind of our traditional, like how we might normally do, like when we first learned React, how we would do the products page. Like, you know, we have and this is a class component. So we have like a component did mount where we have an axios.get. And we have a delete where it's axios.delete. So we're all just maintaining the state within this product. This might be, so what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this. We also have like a product form. That's also a class component. But this, once again, we're kind of handling the state here. This is just kind of like the old way of doing it. So we'll kind of see how we could do CRUD actions with Redux. So I'll leave these components here, and then we'll probably just make some of our own, and we'll probably write them as functional components too. All right. Any questions up to this point?
I'm getting an error that the I don't know, it just can't find a file. I think I just imported something wrong, maybe.
You can't find your store.js? Or what file can't you find?
It says can't resolve /reducers in store.js.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so yeah, and this is the next thing we're going to be working on. So in our source file, I made a folder called reducers. And then in that folder, I have this index.js file.
I did that too.
Yeah, I bet. And then your store is in your source folder.
No.
Okay. Oh, so that was maybe getting that error in your index.js then.
Wait, yeah, it actually is in my source folder, but it's not in my components folder. Should it be?
No, it should be in your, you want to share your screen? I think you're
Yeah.
probably just in the wrong folder or something. Let's see.
My store.js is right here.
I can't, this monitor I have, I can't read. Give me 1 second. Okay, so what's the error you're getting? Oh, wait. You're sorry, go back. Your reducers folder should not be in your components folder.
Oh, okay.
It should be in the source folder. So there, that's that issue. All right. So yeah, what we're going to do next is we're going to work with our products reducer. So for this, I'm going to create a new file called products.js. Now this is where we're going to do the Axios calls. So I'm going to import Axios here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some actions in this file as well. You know, this really should go into its own folder. Like actions should really probably go in their own file. But just so everything's in one place, I'm going to do it right here. So I'm just going to leave a note. This really could go in its own file. Action should really go in their own file. But this will just make it easier to kind of see stuff together. So what I'm going to have is I'm going to have a get products. Okay. Some async. Actually, let's do this with the .then.catch just to get some practice with that. Okay. Now, I'm going to say here, remember our thunk that we set up. Because there's a little weird syntax here. So this get products function is going to return a function where we have access to our dispatch. Axios. So I can do a Axios now dot get. Here's my asynchronous call. I can do API / products. So this is just the API call to get my products. Dot then. So I'm going to do a dot then call instead of a try catch. So I get back my response. Then I'm going to call my dispatch. So this get products function, so this is my thunk. That's the user, it's called Redux Thunk. So this is a thunk. So what we're doing is returning a function. It's really so we can have access to our dispatcher to dispatch an action. So we're going to do our Axios.get, and then when we get our products, then we're going to dispatch our action with type products, and then our products is going to be res.data. And now we finally come down here and we'll start defining our reducer. So remember, our reducer is just a function that takes in state. So, and let's just default that because this is product. So we're going to have like an empty array by default, and it takes an action. And returns a new state. So we'll do a switch statement here. We're going to switch on action.type. Products. And we'll have a default of just returning state. We can export defaults from here, our products. So yeah, so here we have our action on that is set up with a Redux Thunk that allows us to do an async call. So so somewhere in our code, we're going to call this get products function, which is going to do our Axios call. And then once it's successful, we're going to dispatch this action, type products, which the value be res.data, which will be our response, our products from our API call. And so once we dispatch that action, then that's going to hit our products reducer. We'll hit this products case, and then we'll return this action.products, which will update our store, which will update our UI. So yeah, I know we're in our reducers folder here, but there's our action setup, and then there's our reducer setup. So let's just do our get for now, and then we'll do our other CRUD actions. And hopefully over time, as we kind of go through this, you'll start to see this flow. So now that we have our products reducer, let's go to our index.js and get this set up. So it's actually not just, you know, this dummy function. So what we need to do is import, you know, our combined reducers from Redux, and also import our products reducer that we just created. And then we can create our root reducer. From our combine reducers function, and then we can just pass it the products. So we export default root reducer. So I could even test this. This is set up, even though I'm not doing the get products call yet, I could still go to my app, go to my Redux dev tools, see my state, and now I have products as an empty array. I'm going to veer a little off the notes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder, because I want you to have kind of this example of just like how, you know, we had the products in here without Redux. Let's come in and just create like another route. So we'll say like Redux products. So what I'm going to do is in my app dot, well, let's do it like this. I'm going to in here create a new file, Redux products.js. I'm just going to copy one of these components. I'm just creating a dummy component, Redux products. We'll do our Axios call here. The other thing I want to do is set this up as a route. Like Redux products. Redux products. Let's call this R products. Be lazy. That'll be my route, will be r-products. Cool. So then last thing I need to do is just in my nav bar, let's just add a link for that. So r dash products Redux products. So all I did was create just another page in React Router so I can have a separate demo for that. So we added this in our navbar. In our app.js, we just added a route for that to handle that with the Redux products. Yeah, just created this Redux products component. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and do an action. We want to call this on this Redux products component. When this mounts, we want to call this get products call. So let's go ahead and do that. So now I'm going to want the use effect and the use state. So we have our use effect. What I want to do is I want to call that get products method. Oh, I can't do these curly brackets. Curly brackets, since I'm doing stuff, I need to return this. So let's import this get products function from the products reducer file. Now I can't just do this. That's not going to work. What I need to do, remember yesterday how we need to connect this. So I'm going to import connect from React Redux. And then I can connect this to Redux. And remember how we had the const map dispatch to props? Which is our function. That is a function where we have our dispatch. And then this is where we can let's actually do it like this. Curly brackets, that's our function. So here I can start creating this object. So I can have like a get products, which is going to be a function where we dispatch our get products. Now this is actually the call. I'll call that something different just so we can distinguish these names. So I'm just this map this dot dispatch the props. This is just a function that's returning this object. So we have a key get products X, which is a function where we're dispatching our get products method that we created in our products reducer, which does the Axios call and then dispatches the type products and res.data. And so now I can, let's just call this props. I think this might make it a little more clear. So I'll have props, and now since I'm mapping dispatch to props, now I can do props dot get products, whatever I called that key. Now remember with the connect, the first value is that like map state to props. We don't have that. So I'm going to put null there, and then I'm going to do a map state, a map dispatch to props. That is a mouthful. What's going on, right? Redux gets it's not that it gets more hard. There's just, I think the first couple times you do it, it's just, it's like it's this roundabout way of getting data. But it's when our code gets async, this is just how. There's other libraries other than Thunk, but Thunk is the easiest one to use to do async calls. There's another one called Sagas. That's what Evernym used, Sagas. It's more complicated, so you can do more stuff with it. But for what we're doing, the Thunk is going to be fine. Let me see if this is working, and then I'll Slack it out. So I can check to see if this is working. Well, I'm getting a 404, which is not good. I could also check my Redux. That should be, setting that. But yeah, it looks like I'm getting a 404 error. I could check my terminal. No route matches get API product. Well, I spelled that wrong. So I could go to my Axios call because I misspelled that. So now that error is gone. Go to Redux. And yay, my products are now in my store. So let's just do a review from here about how we got here. And let's just start with our index.js, like kind of at the top level. So we wrap our app, which is a React Router app and just our products app, in our provider that we import from React Redux. And the one thing we give to our provider is our store. And remember, in Redux, we have one store. We have this global state for all of our app. So we only have one provider, we have one store. If we look at our store.js, we import our root reducer. We're also importing this Thunk from Redux Thunk. We're applying middleware. So this is just letting us know like stuff is going on behind the scenes. And then we create our store using this root reducer and our enhancer. If we look at our root reducer, we're just pulling that combined reducer from Redux. And right now we only have one reducer, but we could obviously add more. We just have this products reducer. Here's our products reducer right here. It's just this function down here. And a reducer just takes state and a action and returns new state. So we're only like handling one case, which is when we get this product string.
James,
Yeah,
we can combine the hooks, use context with Redux for login registration, or we can use just Redux for login registration.
if you're using Redux, I would not use context. I think if you're using, the point of Redux is to have one store, to have one provider.
Yeah,
So I don't think you would mix and match Redux and context. It's like you would choose, you either are going to use Redux or you're going to use context.
choice.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd also say like maybe another, so why might you use Redux, or why might you use like context? I would say for like simpler apps, I would maybe go with context, like maybe like, because your portfolio projects, so probably, you know, even though those are a little more complicated, you can do, I think context works good. And I don't know, I think there's still like, if you go look online, there's definitely a debate about whether or not context replaces Redux. It's like, do you need Redux with context now? And it's hard because I think like when you read those articles, I think you're getting a lot of opinion based. I know the person who created Redux, who also works on React, his name's Dan Abernoff. So he's kind of like creating both of them. He's like, context does not replace Redux, but you might not. But then he also writes articles like, you probably don't need Redux for your app, because he's like, your app's probably not complicated enough. Because I don't know if you're seeing this right now. There's a lot of this. This is a lot of code. But and we really wouldn't want this unless we're sharing this state across a lot of components, which is generally going to be the case in complicated apps. So I know personally, I would probably want to use Redux if I was building an app, just because I'm familiar with it and I know it scales well. That's like the big thing with me. I know if it can handle the complexity. But cool. But yeah, I'm sure you're already getting like brain twisted right here because of all the moving pieces. So if we go back to where we were at, we have our reducer, which just takes state and an action and returns new state. This is a little new for us today, where we have this thunk and we have this action that, you know, is in a separate file. It's this get products function that just returns a function. And the reason we're doing this is, and this is part of the thunk. Like, you know, what lib is, if we want, because here's the issue. It's like, how do we dispatch something in an async call? I mean, we use that Redux Thunk library, we apply middleware, and then for all our Axios calls, if we do something like this, it's just going to give us this dispatch object, or this dispatch function, where after we do our Axios call, we can finally dispatch our action. So we need to wait for this to get done. So then we can dispatch type products, and then the products can be finally our res.data. And then down here, when we actually match that case, we're going to return action.products. If I called this X, then that would be action.x. Because this right here, this object is our action. Remember, we dispatch an action that triggers our reducer. That's what's getting passed here as the action, is this object right there. I'm going to switch that back to products. And then in our React component, to actually get this function and map it to props, like we can't just do this. We need to create this map dispatch to props where we're going to dispatch it, this function. And this is like, I know we're dispatching a lot of things. This is just part of that Redux Thunk. So there's stuff going on behind the scenes that's making this all work. And then we connect it. And then we finally have it on props because that's our map dispatch to props. Ooh. But something that becomes nice with this is our component actually, I like this a lot. Our component, in my mind, gets cleaned up a little. Because now this use effect, I can just call this get products. Like I'm not doing the Axios call here. It's going to be in its own separate folder right here. If I look at like the products, component, this is going to have all this Axios calls inside of here. To me, that can get like a little messy. But now in this Redux products, I'm just import that function and hook it to map dispatch to props, and now I can call it. So I think it cleans up our React components a little bit and makes it easier to then you'll just have this one file where you're doing all of your actions. I'm going to create a repo for this. I think this is a good time to take a break. Any questions? Definitely think, throwing Redux with async is definitely a little bit. I need to create this a little bit of a mind bender. But I think, and me personally, I think it really does. It actually cleans up your code, in my mind. If that's not the right one. So I'm just creating this repo. If there's no questions, I'll Slack this out. We can go ahead and take a break. Let's see, let's come back at, let's take a little longer break. Let's call it a 10:55. And I'll stick around for a bit if there's any questions. All right. Cool. So where we left off is we have refresh. We have our products in our store. We actually do the Axios call to get the products. So let's go ahead and then render those products. So let's see here. I'm actually just going to copy this render products function so I don't have to write it again. Since this isn't, don't really need to, I'll throw that out in Slack. So we'll have to change it up a little, but let's just kind of look at that. So I'm going to have this render products. I need to make it a const. Yeah, so this is not going to fly because we're not a class component. So I'm going to, but actually let's do this. Let's get our products from props. And then for these, let's do for these links, maybe just for my buttons, I can comment out my buttons for now. So yeah, what I want to do here is render products in my return. So card's not defined, so I need to import card from semantic UI React. We're going to have some other errors. So now products can't read property product undefined. So I don't have dot length of undefined because I'm not getting products from props yet. So how do we do that? Remember, so we have products in our store. We need to map our state to props. So we need to map state to props. So we're going to do that. We can come in here and make our const map state to props. That takes our state. And then we can get it from here, products. State.products. And then pass that to my connect function as my first argument. There we go. There are my products. So now right here, now props.products is going to be defined because I'm mapping a products prop from state to props. All right. Let's maybe, since it's the easier one, let's next, let's do a delete function. I'm going to call this delete product. Comment out one of my buttons. On click, we're going to call this delete product function. So I need to import button from Semantic UI React. And then I'm going to get this error that delete product is not defined. So let's work backwards this time. So what I'm going to do, well, I need to define a delete product function. Delete product. So if I say that, so I'm putting this delete product on this map dispatch to props function, still undefined, because now this is coming from props. So I need to say props dot delete product. Or I could just destructure it right here from props. And right now, delete product is just a function that doesn't do it. It's just a blank function. But it's now, at least I'm not getting that delete product is not defined, because now it's defined. Because I add it to my map dispatch to props. And now I have access to this, to that delete product function from props. But that's not how I want that. I'm going to want, to pass an ID here. And then similar to what I did with this get products, I'm going to dispatch delete product ID. So I'm going backwards. So now if I go look at this, now I have an error, because now this delete product right here is undefined. Okay, I don't know what that function is. Okay, so let's import that from our products. Still undefined because I don't have this function actually defined in there. But now we can go in and do that. So my products, export const, delete product. This takes an ID. And then we're going to do stuff with this. But now I've gotten rid of the errors. So I'm export defaulting this function. I import it. Then in my map dispatch to props, I use it right here. There's the actual function that once again, I'm kind of overloading this name, but I think that makes sense because that's what they're doing. But now, I mean, one thing I could do to test this out right now, I could do it's right here, console.log ID. Like, am I at least, have I got that set up to pass the ID? And I do log the ID 19, but then I get a action must be, now I'm getting in there because I don't have this set up correctly. But I log it because what I need to do is, because it's saying I need to, action must be plain objects. I need to like it's expecting me to dispatch something. So now I can just I just need to kind of follow this syntax. So I'm going to return a function that's going to give me this dispatch parameter. Let's make this one async. Use async await. So I'm going to return an async function, and then I could do like my let response equal await Axios dot delete. Let's interpolate this. So it's going to be API slash products. Interpolate the ID that was passed to this function. Then we could dispatch, a new event or a new action. So we could do type. This could be delete product. And then this one, let's do an ID. So I could use the ID, or I could use the res.data.id. So now I'm actually, because we're doing CRUD actions yesterday where we deleted something. It's just a little more, there's a little more work with Axios and async calls because we need to dispatch after we've actually deleted something. So after our Axios call. But now I can add this case in my reducer or handle this case. So this would be delete underscore product. And here I could do return state filter. So I'm just going to go through my state, go through each product, and see, hey, does the product.id, as long as it does not match the action.id, let's keep it. So remember the action ID we're getting right here. And that's going to be the response.data.id. And now when I click delete, it is deleting them. And I know it's deleting them from my database because I'm using this res.data.id. So I want to be getting that back if it wasn't deleting them from my database. Let's edit do. So let's do edit. If you notice on edit, we're not going to do a form. Sorry. Let's just, let me see. Let me just make sure products. I think in how this works in our products controller. Our update, it's just kind of hard coding, updating in our update in our controller. But just as like a review, let's then, set up this update. Because this is going to be exactly the same as delete with how we have update working. But it'll be a good little just like review. So what I'm going to do is, and let's start with our reducer first. So I'm going to go, actually, let me go back there. So let's go to our reducer. So I'm probably going to want a function that is, update product. This would probably, like, if this were a real update, that would take like some product, like from our form. That would be like our product object. And then I'm going to return async function that has access to our dispatch. Go ahead, let response equal Axios dot put. This is going to need an ID. The API products, and then the ID. And then if we're not going to have this in here, but if we wanted to send our data, then we could throw that as just as we normally would, nothing different there. And this would be an await. And then we'd also go ahead and then read dispatch. Type the update product. And then we want to send in the product data. That's not data. And we'd have a case to handle that in our reducer update product. Which we do return state dot map. So we're just updating one. So we go through all our products. We'd say, hey, does the product dot ID as long as that does not equal, if it doesn't match the action dot product dot ID. So if it doesn't match that ID from the product that was given to us in the action, go ahead and just keep the product. If they do match, then keep the action dot product. And that's how we normally do our map function for an update. Just go through, leave the ones that were not updated unchanged, and then replace the one that was changed. So now I have this update product function that update. I'm just going to call it the same. This is the name that is going to be on prompts. And then what I'm going to call this is, that's actually, now I need to actually import that function here. But now I have props.update product. So I can pull that in my render from my props, update product. And then I can call that here on my edit. So see what I mean now, my products, this Redux product component, it doesn't have any of those Axios calls. It just has this one use effect where it's this nice get products. It has this nice delete product function. It has this nice update product. So it helps my component, I think, become easier to read. And then in my products.js, this is where, I can look and see it and look at all my Axios calls. I can look at my reducer. So this is like a lot of the logic behind this. Go to Redux products, click edit. I mean, it's just hard coding it, but that's doing the Axios call, which is updating it to my database. That should be. Oh yeah, I saw it in there. Right there. So it's actually updating it. There we go. Questions on update and delete. What do you think about like this way of doing it? Does this seem harder? Does this seem easier?
I think it's much better. You can keep all these async calls out of your component.
Yeah. I think another way another thing that's nice about it is it gives you an easier way to start breaking up your app into these different parts. So yeah, then your Redux products, this is mainly just worrying about the UI and some of the click handlers. Your reducers is worrying about your states, your actions are worried about, the API calls. And then you'll start to see, like, when you figure out how to do it, then it becomes very repetitive. So like if we had a user's profile or something, or we had like a books, it's like, oh, we would create like a books view. Then we have like a books reducer and, book actions that did all the Axios calls. So yeah, it makes it, I think, a little easier to do. And let me show you an app I worked on, or I technically didn't work on this specific repo, but I worked on this app. This was the app at Evernym. So this was a React Native app. I worked on the private version. This is like a public repo that they stopped maintaining. But so yeah, I kind of wanted to show this because here's maybe a more complicated app. This one was very complicated for sure. But these would be like all of these. So I'm in let's just go to the connector app. So here's like the Android. This is the React Native project right here. So I go into the app part of it. This is like, here's your app.js. Like a lot going on there. But what we have here is like, these are all the features of the app. Like there's you can get a claim, you can get connections, you can do a proof, there's images, invitations. So if we look at something like, so if we look at like any of these folders, like claim, they all have like stores. So they all kind of have their own little Stores, which one? Oh, that's common. Sorry, that's a shared folder. Proof. They all have like their stores. These are kind of like the Redux part of the app. They didn't use, we talked about Thunks. Like I said, they use Saga. But you kind of want to look at like what a Redux, like here are some actions, you know, that you might see. So you might see some actions. So these are like your functions. See how they're like taking in data. They're, you know, generating the type. There's the action that it's calling. You scroll down. I mean, a lot of fun stuff here. Where's the reducer? Cool. And then yeah, you get down to the reducer. Action.type. So here's like a reducer. So like, I think something that was nice with this, like when you go work with Redux, because this is complicated, like, and especially when you step into a code base that they've worked on for a while, like the code is just going to be like, what the hell is going on here? But a nice thing about Redux is you can, you know, if they have a lot of code built out, then you can go look at all the other like stores or like how they're doing it in the app, and then you can see the examples of how they're doing it, and you can kind of then figure out how to do it on your own. So that's like when I got assigned like my first time to go build a new like section of this app, I was just totally looking at all these other stores just to see how they were doing it, and then I could find just by, it was kind of like some documentation in a sense. But yeah, each of these like sections, I mean, are like their own little apps. And that just helps once again manage the complexity. Because then I don't have to think about the whole like connector app. I can just think about like this proof request as being its own app. And then I can just focus on that. But then if I was like confused about like any feature, I could go look at it like a working example and kind of follow how it was done. And I think you can probably kind of start to see like with how we're doing this. Like if I told you, and I'll probably give you some time to go do like a books reducer, or like go add a model of your choice. Like you could then go use like this product one that we have working, and you could essentially kind of follow that. Even though you might be a little like really fuzzy on like Redux Thunk and Redux. If you have a working example, you know, I think that would help you out a lot. Any questions? I think we could try doing create. Really quick. So let's do create just to see that example. And then kind of like I did yesterday, I'm going to give you some time to like do this on your own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new component. I'm going to call this Redux product form. Let's see here. Let's actually just leave this as I'm going to take the products form component and just copy that inside of here. And let's leave this as a class component, just to see if there's any differences with how we would do this with a class component. I'm just going to rename it though. Okay. And then, so I just created a new component, Redux product form. I need to create a path for this. So I can just copy this products form one. Let's call this r-products new and use our Redux product form for that one. So then in my Redux products, let's just create a link. So let's do a link from React Router DOM to r-products. New product. So this link I auto imported from React Router DOM. I go new product. That takes me to that new product form. Okay. So this form is already set up since I copied and pasted it. Do I need to, since I'm using Redux, do I need my form values to go to Redux? I would say no. I can still have, like, my component can still have state. Like if this state really just only belongs to the component and I don't need to use it anywhere else, then I don't have to use Redux. Like this, if I go to this products link, like this is maintaining its own state in this component, like the delete. So I can still use like state or the use state hook, you know. I don't have to, just because I'm using Redux doesn't mean everything has to go up there. So since I'm thinking these form values are only going to be used in this form, why I don't need to add them to my global state. But I would want to, I am going to want to do this. This handle submit is going to have to change. So I'm going to get rid of this Axios call inside of here. Or just comment that out. Because I still want the like here I'm just spreading out over the state. We can console.log this just to see what that is. This is just going to be all the values in my form. So if I go to new product, and log this. So that's the object I'm going to want to send up to my Axios call, to my database. So that's kind of set up. So this then just becomes, you know, I think now that we've seen get products, delete product, update product, now you should maybe start to seeing a pattern. I can do like an add product. Really that needs the product to add to my database. And then I'm going to return this function because that's going to give me access to my dispatch. I can make this async to do my axios catch, my try block, or my await. So say let response equal await axios dot post API/products, and then pass it the product object that I'm going to get from my form. And I could dispatch, a new action. We could do a type of add product. I can pass the product in my action, call it product, set that equal to res.data. Remember, I don't want to set that to product because res.data is going to have the ID and updated at and created at. So I definitely want to use res.data there. So once I get my axios call, once that finishes, then I can finally dispatch my action. And then in my reducer, I can then handle, like add that case for that. So case add product, return. Let's do our action.product at the start, and then I'll spread out over the rest of my products, which I'm calling state right here. So I added this add product function, which just follows that thunk convention, returning this function that gives me access to the dispatch. And then I added in my reducer the case to handle the add product case, where I can add the product but maintain the rest of them. So now this add product, now this is, I need to wrap this in, or I need to add that to my map dispatch to props in my Redux product form. So I'm going to connect this to React Redux. So I need to import connect from React Redux. This first argument is going to be null. And then I need to make my const map dispatch to props. States my dispatcher. And then I can now create, this is what it's going to be called in props. I'm just going to keep the names the same. So let's call this add product. So it's going to be props.add product. And what is add product going to be? Well, that's going to be a function that takes a product. And we're going to dispatch the add product method I just created and pass it that product. And now I pass this map dispatch to props to my connect function. And now my props has an add product prop. So in my form, get rid of this. And wait, there is this. Ooh, this might be a little tricky. I think I've run into issues with trying to navigate. So we're going to want to do this dot props because we're on a class component. So to get my props, I'm going to say this dot props, and then I'm going to say dot add product. And we're going to want to navigate. This might be an issue. I feel like I've struggled with this in the past. Okay. But let's just see if we can add this product. Let's do new. About this one. We submit. So we're not going to be there. But if I look at my, so my navigation's not working. Let's see that that actually add it to my state, to my store. So yeah, I have this add product. So one of the things about this tool, like I can look at this diff is going to be, hey, what's the difference? So now I have this new product in there, like from this last change. You know, if I go back to my init state, there's nothing that's changed. But then if I run this add product, oh, this is what's changed, is that's been added. And then I can also go look at my state. And I can, oh, well, that's not good. Right? Because look, I can look at my products. Like I've destroyed my products. There's my products, and then I go to add product. Oh, I think I know what I did. Refresh on my about. If I refresh on my about and I go to Redux products. Oh wait, no, there it is. Go to my state. Oh, I think this is a auto refresh issue because I go to my products. I go to my new product. I'm going to add new one. Hit submit. So I can look at my diff. See, I've added this new one. If I go to my state and look at my products, oh, I need to go to make sure I'm on the right one. Add product. There it is. This top. So I know this Axios call is working. I know my state's getting updated. I have an ID. But yeah, now the next thing would be can I just navigate right here? New 2, 1, and 1. Why is this probably bad to do it this way? Can anyone think? I mean, it looked like it worked. There's my new 2. Can add a product. Let's call this N3. It seems like it's working. I mean, it is, but can anyone foresee an issue maybe with how I'm doing this? Well, has something to do with like our code being asynchronous. So when I add a product, that really goes to this and does this call right here. Now here's this await doesn't, this await right here doesn't like propagate right here. So this is not, this does not pause here. So it's going to do this call and then it's going to go right away and it's going to do this history.push. How can I show this? Let's see if we can do a little. See if I can throw this in a set timeout. Kind of simulate like this takes 2 seconds. Or like maybe let's do it right here. So I'm just going to pretend like this add product takes like, let's just do 4 seconds for fun. So I'm going to wait 4 seconds before I dispatch this. That's still kind of doesn't truly show that. The point is this might take, this call could take, you know, some time. And in here, so we might push to our products page before we actually set our state. And I feel like I've had issues with this in the past. I wonder if I can pass the history to here. I don't think I can. Let's see if we can do this. If not, I'm not going to worry about this too much. Let's just see if this works. Because it seems like it's working, but I think the issue is going to be if that, because, you know, I'm on my own server. If this was a different server, it might take more than, you know, a split second for this to create to the database. And then I'd go back and this actually wouldn't be there. Because what I want to do is try to do it after I change my state, after I dispatch. I don't know if that's going to be defined here. So let's refresh this. Add product 4. Oh, cool. That did actually work. So I could just pass this history because that's what I want to do. I want to like wait until I push until that Axios call is done. And then I push through products, then that will get the new call. That's more of a like adding this to React Router. I can get rid of that. This does not pause here. So navigate. So navigate after Axios call. Does that make sense? So now I'm just waiting, I'm passing props.history to navigate after the Axios call actually finishes. So I know it's going to be done after that, and then I can go ahead and navigate. I feel like they fixed that. I feel like you weren't able, I remember having an issue with that like 4 years ago. Cool. What time is it? It is 11:45. Let me push this up to GitHub. Stop sharing. Does anyone have any questions? That should be up on GitHub. I really think with this kind of stuff, you've been watching me do it, maybe you've been following along, but I think it's what I want you to do for like up until 1. You know, you can take a break after, like after I give these instructions, but create like a very basic model in Rails. Just do like a Rails G model, I don't know, book or author, and just have like a name column. Just have like one field in there. And then go through and try to do like, maybe go create a couple in your database so you have some. And then try to maybe do like do a get request to get all of your products, or do a like a create. Or here's another thing you could try to do with what we have here. So we have on this, we have products. So we have this products and Redux products. So the Redux products does not have a view button. So notice with our products, when we click view, how does this work? Do we do an Axios call or do we? So we do a link to products, product ID. So that's the product view. So notice in this product view component, we do an Axios call to get the product. We could also pass the product with React Router, but with Redux, and this is something you could do. You could do a view. So you could go to a view component, and then instead of either you wouldn't have to pass it with React Router, or you wouldn't have to do an Axios call. All you'd have to do is figure out how to, in your product state, just go find the product. So you could click view and then be like ID 0. It's like, oh, well, go through your product state and then find the one with ID 0. And then just, that's how you could grab all that information. So you wouldn't have to do this component did mount because you already have that data there. It's in your shared global state. So all you need to do is go find it. So that's another thing you could try to do, is to do the view button right here and go to a new page, then grab that data. Does that make sense? So spend about an hour just getting your hands dirty with Redux Thunk. Yeah, I would say go create another. I think the best thing that's going to be for you to do is go create another model, create another reducer, and try doing some of these thunks and integrating these Axios calls into it. So do like a get and maybe a delete, or just see how far you can get with it. Any questions with that?